Hi everyone, welcome to our session today on how to make a US college list. And we've got a lot of material packed for you. We've got a lot of information that we are looking at as far as making a college list is concerned. So we'll be running you through some of it. And the way the session will run is that I'll first take you through a sort of an overview of it, and then we'll have speakers coming in from three different universities in the US: a public university, a private university, and a liberal arts college, to give you the three different perspectives of the type of colleges there are in the US and help you sort of understand how to choose between them when you're making a college list for yourself. So before we start, just a little bit about us. Inomi is a career and college guidance firm. We're a self-discovery based firm, and we work with students to help them find careers that really make sense for them and careers that they enjoy, not just find the best college to go to. So we are trying to help them build a story for their lives, and we help you figure out therefore what course is right for you, what country suits your college goals, as well as how do you approach the direction once you know which direction you're going in, so as to maximize your chances. Now our intention in today's session is to help you understand how to make sense of the huge maze of college options available in the US. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have already about it. And once I start to, please feel free to just interrupt by putting a question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, or you can share what your specific concern might be with you. And as the speakers come in, for each speaker we'll have scheduled about 10 minutes for them to address your specific queries. You can keep putting it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask them directly once we start working on this. All right, so no questions to start with. I guess you're saying tell us what it is that you've got for us. So here we go. Right, I hope everyone can see my shared screen. Romy, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Also, please do feel free to turn your videos on if at any point you want to speak or interact, right? Okay, all right. So let's first see, why are we even talking about how to build a US college list, right? So because in building a US college list, we are going through a number of options that we need to choose from. Now, if we compare that to some other countries, for example, if you compare it to India, now in India, building a college list is easier because it's kind of obvious to us that there are these few big colleges. There's Ashoka, everyone applies there. Then there's Kriya, there's Flame, there's Christ. There are 4 or 5 big colleges that everybody applies to. And after that, you sort of go as per your grade level. Right? In UK, again, there are very clear requirements out there, and there are the top 10 universities, 10, 15 that everybody applies to. This is the same for Canada as well, that you'll find that there are about 10 universities that are really the top universities: Toronto, UBC, York, Queen's, that Simon Fraser, Waterloo, McGill. These are the ones that everyone will be applying to. But when we come to the US, the whole situation becomes a lot more confusing, right? Now, the reason for that is that the US is the leading destination for education all across the world, whether it is at the UG level or the PG level, right? Over the years, Canada and UK have come in and taken a little more of ground from the US, but if you see this data, you'll see that the US is still the #1 destination for any student looking to study abroad. Now, why is this in the first place? So the primary reason is that the US offers some of the highest quality education that you will get anywhere in the world. Right? The US invests a lot into research. They invest a lot into their universities. Research from universities is often used directly by companies at their work. So research is a very relevant part of their business, of their economy's growth. And so universities are very much at the center of the economy's growth. So a lot of funding goes in for fresh research, for new curricula, for giving students a lot of opportunities to grow. They hope to build a lot of entrepreneurs coming out of their universities. So some of the best professors from across the world who may have published some of the leading research will be working there, and you will have a lot of people coming in from industry to do guest lectures and to do smaller courses for you at US universities. So firstly, it's the quality of education that's attracting everyone. Then, of course, there are the huge number of job opportunities. The US still has more than 150 of the Fortune top 500 companies headquartered in the US. Some of the leading startups in any industries coming out of the US. So if you just go to any of the leading companies and look at job availability in any field, whether it is human resources, whether it is technology, whether it is creative animation, design, you will find that the maximum number of job opportunities lie in the US and in India. So India sort of is the number 2 when we look at how the US, when we look at job opportunities across the world. Of course, it's a thriving economy which is teetering a little bit now. We're wondering if a recession is coming or not, but we know that if the US falls, the whole world kind of collapses. It is leading the world economy in many ways. And of course, because it's an international melting pot, you go there, you meet people from across the world. Most of the environment is extremely international, and so the US is one of the top destinations for students applying abroad. Then let's take a look at the landscape of universities available in the US. Now, the US government recognizes about 3,952 degree granting colleges and universities in the US. That is a bigger number than anywhere else that you would know of. Now, of course, not all of them are universities that you might apply to. So if you see the US News rankings, out of these 4,000, it'll rank 1,452 universities and colleges, right? So 1,452 schools, as they call it. So those 1,400 or so schools are really the schools that are, reputed, well recognized, and so on. Among these, 183 are ranked among the world's best by Times Higher Education. Now, these 183 are really, that's a big number, and almost anybody at any academic level can find a university from among these 183 that works for them. Or if you stretch it a little bit to the top 250 universities. What that roughly means that there is a place for almost everyone in one of the leading universities of the US if you're applying from India, right? So what we need to do is, from this 200 or so college list that we've got, we find a college list of about 8 to 10 colleges for us to apply to, right? Now, when I'm saying 8 to 10, let's stretch it to 10 to 12. So we're saying an optimization of your effort, of your application effort, is when you apply for about 10 to 12 applications. So, all the universities of California are one application. So, if you count that as one application, and then you apply to 11 other colleges and universities, now that itself is a lot of work, but that's a broad enough, sort of a spread for you to be able to find a college that really works for you. All right. So, then if we move ahead from here and look at the sort of our understanding of how among these 200 or so do we choose a college that suits us, right? So where do I start, right? So now we've tried to distill for you, to make it very simple, 4 important factors that you need to look for when you make your college list, right? The first one is trying to match a college to your academic level. That is to find colleges where you can excel, right? So it's all very well to say that I want to go to an Ivy League, or I want to go to a Berkeley or a LA or a Stanford, but you need to see that will I gel with the kind of students that study in that university? Do I expect that among those students that I'll be top of my class or bottom of my class? Now, you need to find a college where you will be at least in the top mid range of students in a college, right? So that you should be 50th percentile and above among the students in that college. So therefore you need to find a college that roughly suits your academic level, right? So we'll go into that in just a little bit, right? The second thing to look at is location. Naturally, the US is a huge country. Weather is different across places. Most people have family somewhere or the other. So to see that which location suits me weather-wise, location-wise, family-wise, etc., is, of course, it's a no-brainer. It's an important consideration for us to look at. Third one, of course, is the college ranking. And when we are saying college ranking, we are saying aim comfortably high. So yes, look at the reputation of the college, and among your academic level and the location that suits you, aim high, right? But don't aim so high that you just miss it, right? So aim high so that you can stretch and you can reach out to it. So you should aim such that if you work really hard in grade 12, then you will make that academic level, right? But not such that it's like a dream, like, God can grant that to you, right? So that's like aiming too high, and it's wasting a lot of your effort when you are applying for colleges, right? Finally, look at the course offering. So you'll find that different colleges in the US combine things in different ways, right? Like most recently, Romy, we've been looking at a combination of economics plus something with economics and maths, I think, or was it economics and international relations?
Yeah, we've been looking at different combinations actually: economics and data science, economics and finance, economics and accounts.
Yeah, so you might find, therefore, that the particular type of thing you are looking for, let's say computer science and music. So UIUC offers a course in computer science and music. So looking for the particular college that really offers the combination that you are looking for is the key thing that we are trying to figure out over here, right? Okay, so let's look at the first parameter, which is to say academic level, right? So if we look at the academic level, now we are really talking about your school grades and your SAT grades. Now, if you see this little graphic, the way it's tilting towards grades rather than towards testing, it basically is saying that, as you know, especially during COVID, what happened is that testing became optional. Even before that, grades always had greater weightage than testing, but testing had a strong weightage. Now testing has a slightly lower weightage. So basically what I'm telling you is that grades have a huge weightage, right? So when we're looking at academic level, if you go to Google and if you just search, you'll be able to find GPA ranges for colleges, right? So you'll find them in different places, and this is not official data. Often it's counselors and students who put that data together. But the data that you'll get, which is quite reliable, which will also give you a view of that academic level, is the SAT ACT percentile ranges. And I'll just show you an example of what we mean when we are saying SAT ACT percentile ranges. So you can choose a college that roughly suits your percentile. Another metric you can use to find out your academic level is acceptance rates, right? So if you say that a college has an acceptance rate of 5% or so, like any of the Ivy Leagues today will have a college of acceptance rate of about 5%. Even a college like U Chicago, Caltech, Stanford, they'll have acceptance rates which will be about this level. So if you find a college with a very low acceptance rate, that would naturally mean that even if you're a top student in your school, that you have a very, very low chance of getting through. But the moment we hit about 20% or so acceptance rate, then if you are among the top 15 20% in your class, then you have a good chance of making it over there, right? Then if you look at an acceptance rate of closer to 40% and 50%, then if you're a good average student in a class, you should be able to get through. So acceptance rate will give you a view of whether this is suited to you or not as well. So it'll act as a sort of a proxy for you to figure out the academic level, right? Then if we look at rankings, right? So within rankings, now you see academic level can also be figured out a little bit from rankings, but I will go deeper into rankings in one of the other slides for you to get a sense of that. Okay, now for the question of do extracurriculars override grades or not, when you're looking at academic level, the sad truth is that they don't in most places, but occasionally they could, right? No, what I mean by that is that mostly if you're looking at a college where grades matter a lot, so you're looking at a college where the acceptance rate is 20% or less, there your grades will matter a lot. Grades will become like a hygiene factor, and any extracurriculars will be built on top of that. It will be like, we are comparing two students who've got 92% and 92%, or 93% and 91%, and now we are trying to decide basis the extracurricular activities. But it can't be that a student who has 85% is being compared with this 93% student, and because they have great extracurriculars, they're chosen above them, right? So it's very important to understand that when you're looking at your grade level, look at your grade level. Then extracurriculars is what distinguishes you from other students at the same grade level. Please feel free to put down any questions that you have in the chat. So as we keep seeing the questions, we can keep addressing them as we go through our session. Okay, so this is what I was telling you about SAT ranges and how SAT ranges work. So over here, if you see, we are looking at Boston University, Harvard, UMass, UIUC, and you'll see that there are these three columns: SAT 25%, 50%, and 75%. So what this would mean is that if you have a SAT range, score of about 15%, then you would be at the 75th percentile or so among students in that college, right? So you should typically, if you look at, if you have an SAT score which is equal to or greater than the 75th percentile SAT score that is published for a university, then that should be your target university, right? If on the other hand, your score is closer to the 50th percentile for that university, then that should be like a dream college for you, right? And if your score is in the 25th percentile for that university, then it becomes like a super dream college for you, that, you know, you're saying, oh, please, 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 God, make it, let me do a ED over here, let me do whatever it takes, let me reach out to some alumnus from my family, let me try and pull everything I can to make that work. Then you would apply to 25%. Usually we will play between SAT range 50% and 75%. That should be sort of the range of SAT scores that you should look at. Now, this data is very easily available. If you just go to Google, you should be able to find data for any university on this. All right. So if we move ahead from this, now we said that if we look at the four factors, we were looking at academic level, and the second factor is location. Now, why location matters in the US is, of course, for many reasons, but of late everybody has been talking about the polarization that has come about in the US, especially during Trump's reign and whatever. I don't want to go into the politics of it, but we do know that there is a very clear lines have been drawn between Democrats and Republicans, and therefore if you see the Democrat states, that you find that the culture over there is generally more liberal, more accepting of international people and international students, and that's sort of a friendlier, safer sort of environment for you to be in. Now, this is a very simple map that you'll get anywhere when you look for it, to see which states are more the blue states, which is the Democrat states, and which are more the red states, which are the Republican states. But roughly you can see that there's West Coast and East Coast for us to look at, right? So we are looking at, on the West Coast, we are looking at California, Washington, Arizona, as we are all aware of. And on the East Coast, we are looking at New York State, we are looking at Pennsylvania, we're looking at Massachusetts, where almost everything from Harvard to Tufts to Boston to MIT is in Massachusetts, right? So then up north, we are looking at Wisconsin and Michigan and Illinois, which all have a few leading colleges for you to look at, right? Then, of course, other things you look at in location will come be presence of family, you look at the weather, and importantly, it's a good idea to be in a university town or to be in a town which is closer to companies. So typically, because international students, if they have to be successful in the longer run, it really works for them to get jobs and internships during the summer. It's a good idea for them to be closer to a city where there are offices, where they can meet people, where they can interview, where they can network with people, right? So being closer to cities like a Boston, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, even Austin, Seattle in Washington, Washington DC itself, that gives you access to companies, think tanks, places where you can look for internship opportunities and eventually for jobs. So it's important to be closer to such cities, or at least see which is the closest city. Does it have the kind of companies you're looking for? Does it make sense from the job prospects perspective for you? Okay, again, I want to encourage you to please ask questions and put them in the chat, so we'll know specifically what your concerns are. Okay. Now, this is about the weather. Now, weather matters for a lot of students. We Indians are not used to very harsh, cold weather. So if you go to some of the, if you look at New York and Boston, they are cold. Rochester, that's really cold. Chicago is a very windy and, cold city. So you sort of need to know what you are getting in for. And if you a kid might know that, I hate winter, it really depresses me, then it's a good idea to go to a climate that really works for you. For someone else, they'd be like, okay, I love winter, I can handle this. Then that makes sense for you. So that's the other perspective to look at when you're looking at location. All right, quickly running through some of the other things when it comes to rankings. Now, there are so many rankings. There's US News, there's QS World, there's Times Higher Education rankings. So, of course, we typically go by the US News rankings. QS World rankings are also extremely reliable, but you'll find sometimes that there are some discrepancies because the parameters that they've used are different for different people. So that's perfectly all right. And what you can do is that just get a sense, and you'll find some sort of trend. So it's rare that something will be ranked 14 in one of the rankings and 62 somewhere else. It's ranked 14 somewhere, it might be ranked at max 23 somewhere else. So you'll get a sense that it's a good university or not, right? So now once you see all the rankings and you sort of get a general idea, you can build a ranking for yourself, and that's what I mean by my Harvard. You can see that this is my number one college, and this is my number two, and my number three, and so on. So ideally your research should be deep enough for you to be able to make this my Harvard, my number one, my number two sort of ranking for yourself among your colleges. Okay. The fourth and the final factor for us to look at when we look at what factors matter is course offerings, and see that do the course offerings suit what I'm looking for. Now here it's important to understand what is this whole thing about STEM courses versus non-STEM courses. Now this discrepancy arises because in the US, if you've done a STEM course, you are able to work after finishing your college education on your student visa for up to 3 years. On the other hand, if you've done only a non-STEM course, then you are able to work on your student visa only for 1 year. Now, obviously, if you're working for 3 years, you get 3 chances to apply for the H-1B visa, and therefore you've got a higher probability of being able to make a professional success of yourself in the US. Now, the STEM and non-STEM list is, available all over, and it'll be easy for you to get. I will also just upload for you in the chat box a list of STEM majors for you to look at the undergrad level, so that you can, here it is. Okay, I've just uploaded it in the chat, and you can see the STEM majors list over there. And here some things have changed a little bit, and you'll find quite surprisingly that there are some unexpected majors that are marked as STEM, like psych or environmental studies is STEM. Animation and multimedia is STEM, journalism at the master's level is STEM, finance and economics are STEM. So economics is not marked in this STEM list, but more and more colleges are marking economics as a STEM major, right? And then there are some interdisciplinary majors also. So if you can see, like I was telling you, if you want a particular type of combination, like we have a student who's looking for economics with finance, someone else might be looking for economics with psychology. Now several universities will put together a program with an interdisciplinary major, and you might therefore want to do your research and find those courses that suit particularly what you are looking for. All right, then if we look at now a couple of other things when it comes to the overview, right? Uh, so if we take a quick look at financial aid, right? Um, so now when you look at financial aid, now a lot of people, you would have heard about a lot of people getting financial aid in the US. Now, of course, post-COVID, it's become a little tougher. Sorry, but the truth is that only 1 in about 5 international students receive any form of financial aid, right? So now most of these students would be receiving what is called need-based aid, and need-based aid is aid that's given to you when your annual income is shown to be about 35 lakhs or less, about $50,000 or so per year or less. Then you qualify for need-based aid, and there you can get a 50% tuition waiver, at times even up to 100% tuition waiver. But most of us don't qualify for need-based aid, right? So then we apply for merit-based aid, and for that you don't really need to put in a separate application. They just basis your merit, when they see your application, they'll make some sort of a merit-based aid. They might give you $10,000, $25,000, or some sort of merit-based aid. The third type of financial aid is if you apply for a specific scholarship, like Boston University and University of Southern California. They'll have some rather competitive scholarships that you can apply to, but you really would need to be an outstanding student to be able to qualify for one of those. Or it could be an athletic scholarship as well. If you are athletic, or if you are you're playing at national level, or maybe you're a national level dancer, or you've done something at the international level, then you might be able to qualify for those specific scholarships, right? So how we apply for financial aid is through the CSS profile and through FAFSA. These are some colleges I've listed over here which are usually known to give more financial aid to students. Okay, so that's a bit of an overview of that. Now here I've just sort of tried to give you a picture of the range of tuition fee across different universities, just to see that the cost of attendance can really be double, between Texas A&M to Boston University. So when you're making your list, it's important to see, like particularly some private universities may be pretty expensive for you to apply for. Some of the liberal arts colleges may also be very expensive, but they may offer you some sort of a discount, right? In the sense, some sort of a aid. Liberal arts colleges are usually more liberal with offering aid. So especially if you can apply for need-based aid, right? So that's just a picture to give you that how tuitions can really vary. And this is just a picture of giving you the idea of public versus private versus liberal arts colleges, what it means, right? So public universities are universities like the University of California, University of Michigan. These are some leading universities that they are like state universities, and they are run by the state governments, where their tuition fee may be lower than some of the private universities, and they have a sort of a different in-state tuition fee for students who have grown up in that state and studied in that state versus out-of-state tuition fee, right? And typically public universities are huge, therefore the acceptance rates, it depends actually on their ranking. They are large, you would have a number of course options, but there wouldn't be much scholarship available in public universities. As opposed to that, if you look at some of the liberal arts colleges like Pomona, Vassar, Middlebury, Claremont, McKenna, you might find that scholarship options, there are some scholarship options available over there, but more need-based aid is available, but they don't have a huge range of options. They're small, intimate colleges that specialize more in a particular area. And finally, if you look at private universities like Harvard, MIT, Cornell, Johns Hopkins, they're some of the leading ones, but other private universities as well, there you'll find that there is more liberal merit-based aid being given out to people, but they're typically large colleges with many, many course options for you to choose for, right? So that's sort of some of the big picture view as far as colleges are concerned. There's a question here which I'll answer, and then I'm happy to hand us over to the next speaker for the day. So 1 second, let me just look at this question. Yeah, so it's much more difficult to get into college if one applies for financial aid. So is it advisable to apply for aid, or is it advisable to get into a few colleges and then look for scholarship aid? So, if you see, for some people it may be a no-go, that I cannot go if I don't get aid. Then you should apply for need-based aid or merit-based aid specifically, because, then you are sort of really asking colleges to make sure that they'll give you that if they want to take you on as a student. But if that's not the case and you're just hoping to get whatever maximum aid that you can get, then yes, don't specifically apply for it, and allow them to give you whatever they may give as merit-based aid, right? Okay, so Romy, if you'll please bring in our next speaker, and she'll also be able to give you a much deeper insight into these things.
Okay, guys, we have Tabita Chettri with us. Hi, Tabita.
Hello.
Hi. So she's the Indian Recruitment Coordinator for Arizona State University. And she'll be taking the topic of how to find the right fit for yourself. What is the right fit of college for yourself? I'll hand over the stage to Tabita.
Welcome, Tabita.
Thank you very much, Romy, as well as Richa and the entire team. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. Can you all able to see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you everyone for giving us an opportunity to speak to your student, as well as I was listening about, like Riza's sessions where she's talking about the financial aid as well as the colleges. So I'm going to touch upon a little bit on that as well. In today's session, I would like to I would like to touch upon how the students can choose the college or the university as well as the program. And we all talk about the best fit. Is there really a best fit, right? And also, I would like to include informations about the Arizona State University as well for any of the students who would be interested in our program. Once we are done with the session, I will be happy to take on any of the questions. My name is Tabita, and I am a part of International Admission Services for ASU, particularly taking care of the undergrad admissions or the recruitment here in India as well as in South Asia. That's my email address. After the session also, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and we will be happy to answer any of your questions. So we all begin our session or the presentations, like by talking a little bit about our charter statement. Our charter statement is pretty much our mission and what we strive for as a university. Richa did mention about the public as well as the private university in her presentation. So we are a comprehensive public research university, and we are very, very proud on ourselves being inclusive, where we accept the students or whom we bring into our university. We are not those schools which is quite exclusive, but inclusive, where we believe that when the student join us, we will help them, develop them inside as well as the outside of the classes so that they will be successful in the future. Not only that, we want our students to have a deeper understanding about the society, communities, advancing into a research and discovery of the public values. So when they graduate, they will contribute towards the society for the betterment as well, economically, financially, as well as culturally. So talking about the best fit, right? We all are very, very different individuals. We have a different aspiration. We have a different dreams. Our values are different. Cultures are different. But when we think about the college or the university, especially at the high school, we tend to follow our classmates or maybe suggestion from our friends, parents, or a lot of people. But we really don't analyze sometimes. Best fit for my friend may not be a best fit for me, right? So it's very, very important for a student to understand different individuals, they have a different interest. So your best fit, it may or may not be similar to what your friends are going for or what your friends are planning to do it. Remember, we all have a different dreams. When I was at the school, I always think about, oh, I'll do, PhD in astrophysics. Why? Because one of my friend told me about the astrophysics. When I studied physics in my 11th and 12th, I could not able to do well. But I was so adamant because my friend told me and he is doing really, really well. So why not I am? That later on in my life, when I started my undergrad, at that time I found out, physics was not really for me. I wish I could have just thought about, my interest or my aspiration at that particular time. At ASU, we have students coming from more than 135 different countries, right? When they choose ASU or any of the university, they have a very, very different reason to come and study with us. As you can see here on the screen, we have highlighted 5 students who have chosen ASU for a very different reason. you could relate with some of it. You may be thinking about the university at this point of time and thinking that I will join X university because X university have an amazing, let's say, basketball team. Or maybe I'm interested in research and that university allows me or gives me the opportunity to be a part of that particular research, right? If you see on the student here on the right-hand side corner, Erin, she is a student of global studies with us. She has chosen ASU because she believes in herself as well as believe in the community as ASU, where she wants to make a difference towards the society. Then we have Nolan, who has chosen because of the academic, curriculum, as well as the professors we have on campus. Then Daniel, who wants to engage and, and meet with the students from different parts of the world. What's common between them is they all are a student of ASU. They will be graduating from the same university, but the difference is when they have started or when they have finalizing their university or when they have shortlisted ASU as their university, they have chosen because of various reasons. So before you jump into it and start thinking about, my friend is doing X program and I am the best friend of, my friend. So we will be going for the same program, same university. Think about what is actually your interest, what you like to do on a daily basis, right? Once you'll have that, then think about why I'm interested in that particular major. Am I interested because somebody is telling me, that program is amazing? Or it's because I like doing that program regularly, day and night, and I don't get tired. In the end, how that program is going to help me to fulfill my dream. I think these are some of the questions. If we start thinking about it, if we start asking ourselves, then you can able to build or you can able to start looking at some of the majors that could help you or that could give you a little bit of path in terms of finalizing your major or finalizing your degree. At 17, 18, sometimes we feel that, okay, everyone is doing engineering, let's me do engineering. Or sometimes it happens at the high school, right? The number of students who studied engineering versus humanity, there's a huge difference. So you need to understand those environments as well. Am I getting influenced by something when I'm taking a decision? Or am I taking this decision on the basis of my interest? So think very, very carefully. I always tell to all the students, there's no best fit, right? It depends upon the individual assessment, whether I'm interested in that program or whether that program helped me to achieve my dream or not. If by asking those questions, if your answer is yes, then just tick mark. Similarly, when you're choosing the college as well, in US itself, there are more than 4,000 college, university, community college institute, right? So how I'm going to choose, one college or my best fit from those pool? Again, follow some of the steps. I have mentioned the steps here according to, my understanding, according to a little bit of research. But of course, you can take it all the steps or you can just, segregate few of the steps, which could be very, very important to you. One, major, available, whether the program is available on that particular university or not. But don't just stuck with that, thinking where, okay, I'm interested in X university, this major is available. No, go deeper. Understand what is the teaching style. What style I really enjoy. For example, I'm a visual learner, right? If somebody is wanted to teach me something, then they have to draw. They have to do something. So I can able to see it, I can able to learn it. Maybe some of you are a visual learner. Some of you like to have a practical experience when you are learning, right? So understand all of those. And again, one more important thing when you are talking about the major, looking at the course content. We just look at the program, we don't look at the details. So you need to look at the details also. If I'm studying global business management, what is my module for first year, second year, third year? So you are clearly setting up your expectations also before you, opt for that particular program. You already know that these are the skill set I will be drawing from that particular program. These are the skill set which I already have, which is the combinations. Once I'll do the combinations, I am going to be successful, or I am going to reach my dream, which I am, strive for. Location. Again, we do overlook a location sometimes, especially, when it comes to the higher education abroad. Europe is different than, Asia than US, right? So you need to look at the locations as well. Where is the university located? Because remember, you are going to spend the special 3 to 4 years of your life on that particular city, on that particular country. You need to check the weather. You need to look at the university is located in the main city center. It's in the small town. It's in the big city. What kind of opportunity within the university? What kind of student? What is the ratio? It is important. Most importantly, again, cost. You need to be very, very realistic. As Richa was also mentioning about the tuition fee financial aid, right? Be realistic. Look at the university finances before you submit your application also, because application also costs a fee, right? So if X university is not offering you a lot of financial aid and you have a certain budget, then you need to start thinking about the university accordingly. Career services, very, very important. One of the key factor, right? Because it's not only about going and studying into a foreign land. It's about what next once I'll complete my undergrad degree. So the career services team, or the people who are at the university who guide you in terms of your employment, who organize a career fairs, makes a lot of difference. So do your research. All the university will mention all those informations on your website. At ASU, we organize a career fair by the ASU for all the students, and we have a career services departmental wise as well. For example, engineering school also organize a career fair for their engineer students. So only the company who is related to the technology will come to recruit those students. Safety. Here, I'm not talking only about the physical safety. I'm here talking about your mental health also. Lots of talks going on related to the mental health, nowadays, right? So what kind of support the universities is giving you? So look at all of those. So once you are clear, once you have prepared the list, then you can start your, journey in terms of preparations for those university. If I talk a little bit about ASU, we offer 350 plus majors, from engineering to journalism to, to nursing, to biomedical sciences, biology. All the programs are available with us. But all the programs may not be fit for all the university, all the student. So it's important for the students to check the, program before they apply. We offer this program in these four beautiful campus, which is located in the Phoenix metropolitan area. Each campus is very unique, very different. They offer a different, facilities to the student, but it is all interconnected. We run a free shuttle for the student, so you can jump from one campus to the other. It may happen somebody is staying at the Polytechnic campus, but taking a classes at Tempe or vice versa. So communicating between the campuses are very, very affordable, and it's very, very easy. However, each and every campus is quite different. So to check your interest, it's quite similar to psychometric test. We have a tool called Me3. Now, it will go a little bit deeper in terms of your, when you start taking this particular quiz. It's like psychometric test where you will later on get to see, according to your interest assessment, what all career path you can take into it. But if you click on each and every program, then you will start looking at the program details also, what I'm going to study in each and every program, as well as what is the future look like for this particular program, right? What kind of research is you particularly doing on those particular program? So I would like to suggest Me3 to all the students who are a little bit confused or who are at the starting point in terms of thinking about the university, in terms of thinking about the college or program. And for the students who are already interested in Arizona State University, or kind of the university they are looking forward in the US, then they can take a campus quiz as well. As I mentioned, our campus are very different, right? So you can take a campus quiz where you could able to see according to your interest, according to your personality. The tool will suggest you the campus. It will help you definitely when you apply to ASU, but for other universities also. Because when you take this quiz, at the end, we will suggest you, like what is your personality and what kind of campus or what kind of, leaving scenario you will really excel in your academics. Like many university, we have a first-year success center, which is quite special for the first-year student. This particular center is only for the first-year student because we want to support them. Think this supports success center like your coaching center, or you'll have your mentor who can able to guide you throughout your journey in terms of your education, in terms of your module. You may say after joining ASU for X major that you're not liking it, you want to change the major, right? You'll go and talk to your academic advisor, not only here, but for the overall personal development as well for the first year. Apart from the Student Success Center, I was talking about the safety and the well-being. At ASU, we are very, very committed in providing a very, very safe and healthy environment for our students, staff, faculty, everyone. So it's important to take care of your mental health as well, along with your physical health. So we have a counseling service available 24/7, and I think we are I'm not sure whether other university have it or not, but we are one of the university where we have our own police department. So one of the police, that's a ASU police. And we have a, police station available in one of our campus, which is Tempe. If you would like to take some of the programs which could help you to earn a college degree, then we have a ASUprepdigital.org. Other universities also do accept, this online program if you take when you are still at the high school. So sometimes the entire school will take this, sometimes the individual student, depending upon their interest. It's mentioned in our website, ASUpredigital.org, or if you send me an email, I'll be happy to send you the information on the same. Lastly, in India or in South Asia, we all love ranking. I have put this ranking quite towards the end. For me, you should look at ranking as a pinch of salt. More than ranking, you need to look at the program, the course content, the opportunities the university is offering to you. However, if I talk about the ranking, we are one of the top 10 public university in the US for first year experience, as well as for the undergraduate teaching. So it's really talk about our support. It really talks about our professors as well as the opportunity. Apart from that, we have been ranked #1 in the US for innovation and sustainability in the last 8 years. We are quite ahead, of some of the prestigious universities like MIT and Stanford. I did mention we are a public research university, so we do a lot of research, and also our location makes us perfect, where we do a lot of research with the solar energy as well. If any of you decided to apply, then it's a very, very simple application. You can apply directly through ASU website, or you can apply through Common App as well. We are looking at a GPA of minimum 3 for most of the program. However, for engineering and business program, we are looking at a minimum GPA of 3.4. We are SAT or ACT optional. However, for some of the program, this is going to be, like one of the requirement if you're not meeting your GPA or your, competencies, which is the subjects. English is again mandatory, whether you come from the IB board or whether you come from the CBSE board. If you have if you have an Indian passport, then you have to appear for English proficiency test. We do give a waiver depending upon like case to case, but I strongly advise the students to appear for the English proficiency. Once the students submit the application, they are going to get a portal called My AS, from where they will start getting the informations of everything. I will just skip this to slide. This basically talks about the student life on campus, which you can easily, see on our website. So I would like to give some more time for the questions. So this is my kind of last slide about the scholarship. As Richa was also talking about the scholarships, we are one of those universities where we don't offer 100% scholarships. We don't offer a lot of scholarships or many scholarships. We do have one scholarship for an international student, which we call the New American University Scholarships for a high achieving undergrad international students. Once you submit your applications, we will automatically review your applications, and after 3 to 4 weeks, we will give you a decision. But the beauty of this scholarship is once you'll apply, once you'll get the scholarship, if you maintain your GPA, you are going to get the scholarships next year as well. Then there are other departmental scholarships where you need to check whether you're eligible or not. If you're eligible, then it's a competitive scholarships. You need to submit a separate application. This is about the scholarships. And last but not the least, as I mentioned, like when it comes to the college as well as the program, right? You need to consider your academic, social, and financial needs as well. Also, we all are different individuals. So best fit for me may not be the best fit for my, best fit of mine may not be the best fit of my friends. So think carefully, decide. Sometimes it may happen that you take on some program and in between you say that this is not the program. US is kind of the, education system where you can always add or change, like in terms of your major or minor, you can able to play around with it. So it will give you a little bit of flexibility, I think, than in some of the other countries. We all are here to support you. We all are cheering for your success. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that. On the right-hand side, you can see a QR code. If you wanted to be into our marketing list where you start getting information about our university scholarships deadline, feel free to, scan this and fill up your details. Yeah, so that's it. I think I have a few minutes. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer any of your questions at this point of time. Or if you have taken my email address, or you can email us at asuinternational@asu.edu.
Thank you, Tabita. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for that wonderful insight. And particularly, I love the way Arizona focuses so much on research, because you students will find once you start working in university that research is very valuable from the perspective of companies. And any research that you may have done during your college years, and then even during a thesis based masters or during your PhD, that adds a lot of value, because they're looking for people who can look at things with the original perspective, deep dive into it, use data, and that's useful in industry. So Arizona State is one of those universities that gives you those opportunities, and it's in general a excellent approach when you're looking for colleges in the US. So let me ask you, Tabitha, firstly, I'll ask everyone who's attending this that if you have any specific questions for Tabitha, even if it's not related to her university, but related more to the whole process of applying to the US, please feel free to ask her before we move on to our next speaker who's already here with us. And Tabitha, so let me ask you to comment on what Nalini had asked before. If I apply for financial aid at all, whether I say that I'm looking for financial aid, now that brings down my chances, because most colleges are need sensitive, even if they are not fully need aware, but they might be need sensitive. And so it might make my application a little less competitive. So how should an international student play it? Should they just wait for whatever scholarship comes to them after admissions? Would they have any leeway to ask for scholarship after admissions?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Richa. And it's a very, very good question. And a lot of those students do ask us about that question. I can, talk here about the ASU. If I talk about the financial aid, as well as the scholarships, right? At ASU, financial aid is only for the students who hold a US passport, not for the international student. So for international students, we call it scholarships only. That's the term we used, right? But here in India, of course, sometimes we interchange financial aid as well as the scholarships. Now, the scholarships which I have mentioned, one, it's the automatic merit-based partial scholarships. The student does not have to apply. But there are other scholarships. I need to look at whether I'm eligible or not. It's not only about the ASU, for other universities also, right? If you look at their website, they have a dedicated page for scholarships, financial aid, all the information. If you are meeting the requirement, they have given you the process, you can just apply. I don't think so any of the university your chances to get into the university will be little less if you ask for the financial aid. The university, especially ASU, we know that, the student will ask for it, and it is their right. There's no harm in asking a questions. So one questions on the financial aid will not make your application, lesser than the other, first of all. Secondly, my experience for the US university, you should ask. When you ask, you'll get the answer. If you don't ask, you're not going to get the answer.
Right, wonderful. So I get that, Tabita. So you're saying that one should ask, and it will not have a very bad impact on your application
Absolutely.
process.
Absolutely.
And then if it's available, then it will be given to you. If it's not available, it's not given to you. At least you asked, so you get
Yes.
an answer to that.
Yes.
Tabita, thank you so much, and
Thank you so
for the
much.
insights of the university. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. And there's Stacy with us. Stacy, good morning. I guess it's morning for you guys there.
Yes, hi. How are you today?
Oh, very good, Stacy. Stacy represents Stony Brook University, which again, it's a public university, which is very well known for some of its research in STEM, as well as it really encourages international students. It does offer need-based aid. I know some of our students have received, a very good aid from Stony Brook University. So Stacy will be giving us an overview of the application systems and of financial aid. Tell us, Stacy, what are you covering today when you speak with us, apart from your
So I'm just going to share my screen really quick. I know you kind of just did a little overview on finding the right fit, but I'm going to go a little more into some details on the differences between different types of university types in the US, as well as a financial fit, which really brings us into your last question that you just covered with Arizona. So it's a lot to cover in 15 minutes. So I'm going to be very New York, because Stony Brook is in New York, and talk fast. But I'll also reiterate what the representative just said is ask questions, whether it's at the end or afterwards. I'll give my email address. We are here to answer questions. But I know you probably just covered a lot of details on helping find the right fit in a US university. And one of the things that I like to talk about is the structure and the understanding of the structure. People really come and tell me all the time that they're overwhelmed with the admissions process. They don't know where to begin. They don't know what to do. And I really say, it's not that it's so overwhelming. It's just sort of a new understanding of terminology, of a structure of how things work. You just need to have some knowledge and a little lesson, which is what I'm going to give on what to do and how to start looking, and then it will help and make sense. And for you, it's sometimes even more confusing and new information to learn because it's not even in your home country. So when you're considering universities in the United States, the one thing you need to remember is that there are 4,500 different options in the US of colleges, of universities. So that can make it seem very daunting and overwhelming because there's just so much choice. And there are differences in some of the universities, including universities are public versus private. I know in many countries, a public university is considered much more prestigious than a private university. In the US, there are no differences in terms of of prestige in a public or private university. Public simply means where the funding is sort of controlled or being supplemented by the state in which that university falls under. So for Stony Brook, we are a public university in the State University of New York system, which is the largest public system in the US. Whereas private means your funding is typically coming from tuition revenue as well as private donors. Public also has that fee structure, but it also is being supplemented by your state. Public is not necessarily by the entire United States. Those are for our service academies, which are like the military academies, like Naval Academy and things like that, which is only for US citizens anyway. So keep in mind that your very elite Ivy Leagues are all private. So obviously your rankings and things like that have no difference between public and private. So when it really comes down to looking at types of schools, a public versus private, I generally say is not part of that. Is this a right fit for me? Because there is no distinction otherwise. What you really want to look at is some of those other factors that I'm sure you went through in your last presentation, but I'll touch upon them in a little bit. When you're looking at universities, though, and colleges, keep in mind that the word university and college, while they are slightly different, can seem synonymous in the variety of different school offerings and institutional offerings in the US. A research university tends to be on the larger side. It does not have to be public, although many are. Whereas a college tends to be on the more medium to smaller side. Please note that at colleges, there are research happening. It might mean that there are less graduate level programs, perhaps no PhD or professional level programs, whereas at research universities, you're going to have those very a large amount of graduate and PhD and professional level programs. Whereas your college might be a smaller school, less of the graduate side, or no graduate programs. But the research, faculty have to do research. So your opportunity to be involved in research will happen at the undergraduate level at both of these schools. Then you have other kinds of programs. Community college is a great type of atmosphere for students who are not sure yet, perhaps what they want to do, or sometimes good in terms of saving some finances in the beginning. Other language that I think that is really important for students to understand is when kind of starting this process is what a first-year student, which we call a freshman student, versus a transfer student. A freshman student is someone who is either still in high school or just graduated high school, but has yet to take any college level courses, whereas a transfer student has completed high school and already taking college courses, but not yet graduated. And then, of course, you have those graduate and PhD programs for those who have already completed their undergraduate degree program. And then really quickly in the US, professional level programs like medicine, dentistry, a lot of other healthcare areas, and law are all professional level programs, meaning you must complete a bachelor's degree first in the US, an undergraduate degree, and then apply to these schools. They're all at the graduate level program. So you're not taking these courses as an undergraduate student as in some other parts of the world. So I'm sure you went through some of this, so I won't go into too much detail, but the things that I like students to really think about when they're looking to find the right fit is your academic area of interest, your career goals, the subjects you're good at. These are times for self-reflection. I always say, what subjects are you good at and what likes you back? What do you do well in? You don't want to major in something that you don't enjoy studying, that you're not good at, that you don't get good grades in. You want to be able to not, you want to be able to go to class and enjoy what you're learning and kind of see that you can handle this subject for a long time after you graduate. Things like location and size, really important. Location is not just if it's city, suburbs, rural, but it's about how far away it is from a major airport. It's about climate. So all of those things to consider. Cost, we're going to go into sort of a financial fit in the next slide. And then other things that might be important to you: research, clubs and activities that are a must-have, diversity, safety, also things that are really important. When you are looking at a financial fit, I know you touched upon this as I was entering into your last presentation. When students are looking for schools, a financial fit is equally as important as an academic fit, as a social fit. And in the US, there are many opportunities for international students to receive some kind of funding. And there's a difference in funding, whether it's merit-based scholarship, that is purely based on your merit. You're typically, at most schools, it's your grade point average. Sometimes it can include test scores. Sometimes it may even include your overall activities and how they rank your activities in the admission process. These are typically renewable for all 4 years of your time at the institution, and you typically have to keep up a certain GPA in order to get that scholarship. Need-based scholarship and aid is based on a family's financial need. Typically, there's a separate application, either called the CSS profile, or there is an international student financial aid application. Each school will handle it differently. Many schools do not offer need-based aid. So those are those questions that you have to ask, just as you were instructed before I came on. So you want to see what kind of aid that each of those schools are offering, but need-based aid would be exactly based on your family's financial needs. So often you will have to submit financial information on, perhaps family salary, different assets, and how much money is in your bank. So you would need to be prepared for that. Other kind of scholarships out there would be talent-based scholarships. That's often like performance-based or art or something along those lines. Some schools you would have to be majoring in that area. So if you're applying for an art scholarship, they would want to have you be an art major. Athletic scholarship, that's absolutely the case for those who are playing an athletic sport on campus in a Division I or Division II level. If you're being recruited, you would be expected to play on that team and can receive athletic scholarship money. Oftentimes there are student loans in your home country that students can be eligible. So we do encourage students to explore those opportunities. There is employment opportunities on campus for students. Typically, I say that this kind of finances would not generally cover tuition, but they're going to cover extra expenses. So you might want to go to the movies with friends or out to dinner with friends, or you're going to need to buy, shampoo and, an extra notebook or something like that. So you really want to, you know, have some extra spending money. There are some other opportunities sometimes for co-ops or off-campus internships, which like turn into CPT, that sometimes can be funded. And I'm happy to go into details on that, you know, sort of offline, because we probably don't have much time for that. So I want to make sure that we save room for questions. As mentioned before, just really quickly, I am from Stony Brook University. We're located in Stony Brook, New York, which is about an hour outside of New York City. We are a public university, a larger school. We offer over 200 academic majors. We do offer merit-based scholarships. They can really range. We also offer a half tuition scholarship. That's our largest scholarship, which is based on a student's leadership. And again, that's half of your tuition. I am going to, however, put my email address in the chat for those who do need it afterwards, and make sure I get some time for any questions that might have come up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stacy. It gives us quite a perspective. Now, there are a couple of questions that I'm getting on my chat, which I'll just share with you. So one of the questions is about, you know, how COVID has impacted job opportunities, you know, because COVID has shaken everybody's faith in applying abroad to some extent, you know, because it's now, of course, very expensive, given also how the dollar is moving against the rupee. So, you know, they're like, you know, how much sense does it make for me? And then the news that COVID has made it tougher for Indian students to get jobs, or for international students to get jobs in the US. So do you have a perspective on this, that has it made it tougher for international students to survive there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one of the things that we are really realizing, of course, is the past 2 years, you know, there has been a decrease in students coming, and the feeling that the job market has not been as favorable for students, but we're really seeing that increase again and that rise again. One of the great things that Stony Brook did, and will remain, I always say, you know, of course, COVID has, you know, had so many tragedies and so many sad stories, but there's some amazing things that came out of COVID throughout the world. And a couple of those things at Stony Brook are the fact that we created within our Career Network Center this office of virtual opportunities, internship and job opportunities. So many employers still need, you know, those interns, and recognize that they can do things virtually for them. So it's actually giving more opportunities for students. So now I can do a virtual internship in California, and I don't have to wait to the summer to do it, because I can do it while I'm taking classes. And that just leads to more opportunities then for job opportunities. We, of course, brought back our in-person virtual, our in-person internship and job fairs, which we always have employers who do hire international students. So it's always great. We always have a sign right on each employer's little table if they hire international students or not. So we are seeing, you know, students getting internship opportunities, taking us up on those CPT and OPT opportunities. So we're hopeful that trend will continue.
Wonderful. So that's great to hear. You know, that's universities are proactively trying to support students to manage the new environment, and that it's working. So, you know, that's an excellent thing for people to look forward, because yes, they do want to go there, but they just want to know that it's easier for them, right? So we have a question here from Rahul, who's asking about filling the CSS form. So the question really is that, you know, do I need to fill the CSS form for financial aid, or would we be considered for it without CSS? So
Yeah, so every school is going to be different. If they accept need-based aid, you kind of have to ask them, do they do they offer any need-based aid, and what do I have to do? So at Stony Brook, we have very little need-based aid, honestly. We do have some, and it's on a very individual request basis, and we have our own little internal form that we ask students to fill out, where other schools will absolutely require the CSS profile or some other kind of application. So this is one of those cases where you're going to have to ask individually every school that you are considering.
Okay, wonderful. That gives us a perspective. I actually have a related question to this, Stacy, that, is there a cutoff for need-based aid when it comes to family income? Because people's income has kind of moved up and down a little bit during COVID. So is there, not a little bit, for some people, it's been quite a bit. So, is there a certain cutoff for what annual income from a family makes them eligible for need-based aid, whether through CSS?
Yeah, so that's also going to be very individualistic per institution, and to what the generally there's formulas through our financial aid office that will have what the total cost of attendance is, to the total perceived cost of contribution to the to the child's education. So that's, these are very individualistic types of by institution.
Okay, got that. So you're saying that there isn't a standard answer to that. It's really, that it depends on,
Because every cost is different. Every every school cost is different. It will also factor in if there's any merit-based scholarships given. So there's, it's very individualistic to the school and to the person.
Right, got that. So on the other hand, just to answer the question and to give them a sort of a ballpark figure, so in my understanding so far, the range is somewhere between $50,000 to about $75,000 or so as an annual income. But Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear you that it's not really a standard number.
Yeah, it's not really a standard number, and I could not answer that.
Stacy, I got
especially because at Stony Brook we don't get, every school is really going to be different.
It's going to be different. I got that right. So I have a question from Surbhi here, which is that she says, my son wants to study computer science and economics. So should we look only for colleges with a double major or an interdisciplinary major? Or does it not matter? We can just choose one as a major and one as a minor. What would you suggest?
Yeah, so it's really up to, what, if he wants to double major, what I would say is that you need to, make sure the school offers both as a major. Some schools will allow you to apply right away to both majors. Some schools will not. Like at Stony Brook, you can only apply to one major and then declare your second major, once you are here. I generally would say start with computer science first, because it's definitely going to be a tougher major to enter into. So whereas like if you started with economics and then go to try to declare computer science, you're not guaranteed to be able to get into that computer science major at all schools, especially a Stony Brook, which computer science is very competitive, and you have to start taking those classes right away in your first year. You could of course do minor as well. So my biggest thing is just to make sure that both, the schools that you're applying to offer both majors, so you have that opportunity.
Right. So here there's another question. So Stony Brook accepts one optional LOR. Can I request my summer program professor for a letter of recommendation?
We do require a letter of reference, so you would want to do that. And yes, you can have your summer faculty member do that. Anyone who can speak to you academically, we would recommend.
So, Stacy, I would just want to ask you that would it typically when we advise our students, we tell them that a teacher who's known you for at least a year, her letter of reference would have more weight than one who knows you less. and a summer program professor who may have known you for 2 weeks, unless you've really done a research under their professor, that professor may not be able to speak about you in too much depth? Or do you think that that doesn't matter so much?
Yeah, I mean, I do, I do think it does, it is generally recommended somebody who can speak to you academically. And if a summer program was only 2 weeks versus, 8 weeks, they might not have gotten to know you very well. But it depends, because if you somehow really, gained a great relationship with that person, perhaps you've connected with them, you stayed connected, maybe you're doing some side research or some kind of work with them, that is fine. We require 1 letter of reference, but you can submit more. So in those cases, you might also, that summer faculty member might be a second letter or an optional letter for you. It really also depends on, if you're applying to a certain major and the course you took is very related, and or a project that you did is very related to that, that might be more beneficial. So, it won't be frowned upon, but the typical advice, of course, yes, is to get somebody who can speak to you academically, who knows you long, but there's always exceptions to every rule. And so if for some reason that summer faculty member really knows you well, then that would make sense to also ask them.
Okay, right. Wonderful to know that, Stacy. So, among our students, I'm sure, as people are making their colleges, financial aid is only one of the considerations. I guess location is the other consideration. That other consideration is research opportunities. And thanks so much for giving us that view from your university of what sort of opportunities are being offered over there. So I think that's that as far as the questions are concerned. Stacy, thank you so very much, and really, really grateful for your time early in the morning today on a weekend, and all the best to you. If there's any more questions, then people can just mail you. I think you shared your email in the chat, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. So definitely be in contact. I'm happy to help anyone answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, bye, bye. All right. So we got a view now from 2 of the universities to sort of get a picture on how to make a college list, how to approach financial aid, what factors to consider, and what sort of opportunities the US offers. And now we have a view from a very different type of college, which is Babson College, which is really a leading liberal arts college in the US. And as you'll find when you speak with Adrienne and you see what Adrienne has to share with you, that it gives you a much, a more intense, cozy, a very different perspective of education in the US. And it's really suited to several students who are looking for that sort of an environment and don't want to get lost in a huge public university, or are looking to deep dive into a particular subject. So I'll let Adrienne run you through that. Adrienne is here from Babson College. Thank you so much for making the time today, Adrienne. Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much for having me this morning, or this evening for all of you. I had the great fortune to be in India about a month ago. So I very much am appreciative of the invitation this morning. But as we just said, my name is Adrienne Ramsey. I represent Babson College. I've been asked today to talk about different financial aid sources for international students and funding your education in the United States. But also just to share a little bit about Babson really quickly before I get started on that. So Babson is a small school. We're a Boston area school. So Boston is a city in the United States that's on the East Coast. So we're a little bit closer to Europe than we are perhaps to Asia. And Boston is the largest university city in the United States with over 40 schools and 250,000 undergraduate students. So we are very fortunate to have good company, but it also means that we have to be very distinguished in terms of who we are. So as far as Babson goes, we are a small school. We're only about 2,700 undergraduate students, and we have a very big focus. So we are a business college, and so all of our students will receive a business degree, and though it will be in terms of having a blend of liberal arts and business courses as well. Primarily what we're known for is entrepreneurship. So Babson for 26 years in a row has been the #1 school for entrepreneurship in the United States. We're also known to be, as far as like some of the other rankings, Money Magazine says we're the best business college. And why I think that we receive these wonderful rankings, we have a great course called Foundations of Management and Entrepreneurship for our first year students. And in this course, students will actually start and run their own business with about 15 of different of their classmates and so forth. The other final thing before I kind of hit the topic I was asked to talk about is that I would like to mention is 27% of our students are international students. So at Babson, we welcome students from all over the world. India is actually one of our top 3 countries that we will have represented in our student body. Just really quick, I have permission to share my screen, right? Is that correct?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay, great. Just because I have a little resource for students in terms of thinking about different aid, whatnot. Hold on one second, make sure I have it open. Oh goodness, I apologize. I thought I was just looking at it before I hopped on, of course.
Yeah, no problem, Adrienne. Take your time to find it.
So as you know, attending, university in the United States, I'm going to start sharing this document right now, can be quite expensive. And so there are a lot of different things. So obviously, different institutions have different sources of aid and so forth. So for example, at Babson, while we do have some need-based aid for international students, we also have a number of merit scholarships. In many schools throughout the United States, what you're going to find is that they will have dedicated scholarships towards international students because they're really hoping to attract international students for their campus. So you can see in my little document right here that you will find that there's a database called internationalscholarship.com, and this will be a great database of different scholarship opportunities for international students. Another one is found at the International Education Financial Aid, which is also here as well, and you're going to find a list of different scholarships that are available for these. There's also going to be the Fulbright program that has scholarships for students to be able to study in the United States as well. Fulbright is a program all over the world. I just had a colleague last weekend attend the Fulbright Fair for students, which was held in London. You're also going to find that there are going to be other different scholarships, such as Empower Financing and the Peace Scholarship, and so forth. But really, what in my research when I was preparing for this, internationalscholarship.com is a really great resource for students to be able to find some funding and to be able to look at different opportunities for students. And this is something I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, just so I can talk to you, but I did want to have that resource up there for you. I think what is important for you all to know is the fact that every school is different. So there are some schools that are able to offer full funding to students and some schools that are able to offer, partial funding to students. But in the US, we do have something called the net price calculator. And while it was intended for domestic students in the US to be able to look at what their potential need-based financial aid calculator is. It also can be a calculator for international students to put in things like their GPA, their testing, if they've taken testing, to be able to get a sense of whether or not they would qualify for different scholarships as well. And that is unfortunately the very tricky part, is the fact that every school has different policies when it comes to financial aid and when it comes to scholarships. But there, as you know, there are thousands of schools in the United States, and many are not fortunate like we are at Babson to have 27% of our students and so forth. I see a question in the chat, so I just want to make sure I answer it. Does our graduate school accept a 3-year undergraduate degree for a full-time MBA? And I actually don't work for the graduate school, but fortunately I can answer this question. So yeah, if you, like many other institutions outside the United States, have pursued a 3-year program, yes, that will be accepted for as a valid degree for the MBA program at Babson. So I just wanted to make sure of that. So I wish I could answer more about the graduate program, but unfortunately I'm a little bit more focused in the undergrad.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, Adrienne. That's no problem. We do have a question here from someone on one of the undergraduate programs, also saying, what kind of extracurriculars do you look at? I think you said that we're looking beyond grades at the extracurriculars as well. So, often because in India, students don't necessarily have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of, independent research. So it's like, what kind of things can students do in India to really distinguish themselves?
Absolutely, I'm happy to answer that. So first and foremost, I like to stress to students that, like yourselves, I too have lived through a pandemic. So I know that your opportunities in the past couple of years have been limited in terms of the extracurricular involvement that you may have had. So I want to stress that to students, that we also, know that perhaps your opportunities have been a little bit limited. So what we look at is for students who have created their own initiatives, right? That in these times that you perhaps have had to get creative, and maybe perhaps you've done an independent research project, perhaps you created a social service project for your own community to give back and so forth. For us, there's definitely going to be an extension of thinking about your activities and perhaps any internships that you've had, because those are time management skills that you're gaining throughout your time during your secondary school years. We really are kind of going to be really focused on the fact of, like, why do you want to go be at a business school and why do you want to be at Babson College? So that is going to be very much a focal point for us to help you distinguish yourself in your application. We do have a supplemental essay. A supplemental essay, like many schools, is going to really be your chance to talk to the admission office, to actually have a seat in the room and at the table while the admission office is deliberating your application. So I always stress to students that the biggest way that you can distinguish yourself in the application is through your supplemental essays, because those are going to be the reason that an admission officer may advocate for you, and really that you're able to advocate for yourself. It's very empowering in that matter.
Adrienne, I have a couple of questions on my personal chat that I'm going to ask you now.
Of course.
So one of them is about, what type of student, sort of the question is that how do I choose that I should look at a liberal arts college and a small college as opposed to a large public university? Like, is there a type of student who's more suited to a liberal arts college and a type of student who's more suited to a bigger university? Do you have a view on this?
Yes, of course. So I will say that I actually attended a big university myself many years ago, of course, but I did attend a big university. And I think for the student who really enjoyed interaction with faculty members, that a smaller college can be a better fit for them. So at many large research universities, you're going to perhaps be in classes of 100, 200 students and so forth. At a smaller college like Babson, we are going to be have our students in classes of 20 students, 30 students, so much smaller than that 100 to 200 range. And for the student who knows that they want that interaction, not only with faculty members, but with their fellow students, and want to be in a more interactive class, that is going to be a stronger fit for them. I will also say that smaller colleges in the United States in particular tend to be more residential in nature. So for example, at Babson, all of our first year students are required to live on campus, and most of our students, over 90%, will stay on campus during the duration of their time that they finish their degree. So it creates a sense of community, and it creates a sense of home for our students, and they're really able not only to get to know the faculty, but able to get to know one another as well.
Has got that. And I do think that often parents in India don't look at private universities so much, because private colleges, smaller private liberal arts colleges so much, because the big names are floating around in India. And so for them to get a perspective from somebody from a smaller college is a excellent idea. And a lot of students, however, who have studied in a Wellesley or a Vassar or a Babson are able to give them that perspective, and that really gets them going. So another question I have over here is again related to financial aid, and I think it's actually quite topical. What they're saying is that most currencies across the world are depreciating against the US, making higher education even more expensive. So are there any newer financial aid programs to support? I think where this is coming from is really saying that, now how expensive is it going to become for us if the dollar keeps rising? And is there something that universities are going to do to help us with this?
So unfortunately for us specifically, we don't have any new initiatives that are out there. We do have our Global Scholars Program. Our Global Scholars Program is a international need-based aid full tuition grant that is available for international students at Babson. But we've had this for over 10 years, so we've had it for quite some time. What I can share with you is that in terms of US institutions, pre-pandemic, the number of international students coming to the United States was actually declining. And so we have lots of data that the government shares with us on this. So because of that, and because it did decline even further with the pandemic and visa issues and so forth, you're really going to find that there are a lot of schools out there, even a big school like Boston University, for example, that they have scholarship opportunities for international students because they really want to continue to welcome international students to different campuses and so forth. So we're really fortunate in the Boston area because we have a number of international students on our campus. But other places, perhaps like in more middle America and other institutions, University of New Mexico even, I was visited there, and they have very distinct scholarship for international students because they really want to attract these all of you to be able to come to our campus and explore the opportunities that are available for you.
Thank you very much, Adrienne. You were actually saying something before this barrage of questions interrupted you. So is there something you wanted to add about Babson or about the experience of financial aid or the subjects that you were speaking about of a best fit college, Liz?
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that at Babson, we unfortunately have limited financial aid for international students. So we do have our Global Scholars Program, which does provide aid, but we do have a number of merit scholarship opportunities. So some of those might include the Wiseman Award, which is full tuition, the Arthur M. Blank School of Entrepreneurial Leadership. Mr. Blank is an alum of Babson, and he is the founder of a national brand called Home Depot. It's a place where you would go buy all of your goods to be able to have renovations on your home and so forth. He also funds a full tuition scholarship, which is for 6 students a year. We have the presidential scholarship, which we award to over 100 students a year, which is a half tuition award that students are able to do. So while perhaps some of the need-based aid available for international students may be limited, the merit scholarship opportunities for students at Babson is numerous. And I think that is important to stress is that, one of the things that you mentioned was that students often think of the big names, right? Like, and the big names are going to, perhaps have some limited resources. Big state schools in the United States, Michigan, Virginia, I give it as an example, are going to have both of those schools and many others because they're funded by the state are going to have limited resources for international students. But private schools, believe it or not, in the United States have numerous resources for international students. So it's important to kind of look beyond some of those big names because some of the smaller names actually may have the most money to offer to your students.
Thank you for that, Adrienne. And I want to stress that Babson College is not a small name in that sense. It's, really reputed university, especially when it comes to business degrees, but it's a cozier environment. Like Adrienne was pointing out, if, students would like to interact more with faculty, with each other, to have that sense of belonging and nurturing, a small university like Babson College would give them that opportunity. And like she said, the private universities as well as private liberal arts colleges such as Babson would have resources, merit resources for students to apply for as well. So thank you for that, Adrienne. Thanks a lot, and thank you for asking answering all the questions that people have over here. We really hope that people get that perspective and start looking beyond the big public universities to apply ahead as well. And we will also share Adrienne's email ID where if people have any specific, if you could just put it in the chat, Adrienne. So
yes, of course.
So people can reach out to her directly. You can reach out to her directly if you've got any specific questions.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you again for having me today. And please, I'm putting my email in the chat right now. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer questions.
Wonderful, Adrienne, and thank you for making the time on a morning, on a weekend. Really appreciate it. It's really wonderful having you. Thank you.
Yes, all the parents here will appreciate it. I'm about to head to a sports field right after this because it is the morning in the US. So that's what we do in the US. So run around to different sports fields all day. So all the parents here will appreciate that.
Wonderful. Have a great day on the sports field, Adrienne. Enjoy it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everybody for attending our session. I just want to close with a little video that gives you an overview of our work at Inomi. And if you have any specific questions from Inomi, Ankit, please put a number and an email ID where they can reach out to us on the chat as well. And we will be
Sure, absolutely.
Here goes. Sorry, that's it. Thanks for attending this webinar. Have a great weekend, everybody. Ankit has just put a number and an email ID there. If anyone wants to reach out to us, you can reach out over here. Thank you again. Have a great weekend.